Hello, welcome everyone. In this particular video, we're going to continue doing the problem sets from CS50x. And for this particular video, we are going to go over problem set 7, which focuses on SQL. A few disclaimer before we get started. This video is only for educational purposes. Please do not copy or cheat in any form. Doing so is highly discouraged. This video is only for either those who have done the problem sets or B, for those who are planning to get inspiration from the problem sets and maybe think of different approaches, and try to think about how they're going to write their own code and structure their own code. Like I said, you are going to be robbing yourself of different opportunities if you just copy paste or just type the same exact code I've written in this video. Please try to understand the code as you write along. And it's just a valuable opportunity because CS50x is a great course and it provides you a lot of good material upon which it can be very useful in your career if you actually think through the problems and try to solve the problems by yourselves as opposed to just copy pasting from somewhere else. So I highly discourage you from copy pasting the code I present in this video, but however, you can definitely get inspiration from the solutions or approaches that I've presented in this video and try to come up with your own code or your own approaches. Okay, that's encouraged. Okay, so with that, let's get started with this week's problem set. So this week's problem set is pretty much focusing on the SQL assignments. Particularly, there's two assignments here. One is called movies and the other one is called houses. Okay, so let's open up movies first and let's get started with this. So they encourage you to basically set up a PSET7 folder. So let's go ahead and do that first. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to make directory PSET7. Actually make directory PSET7. And I'm going to create houses and actually let me just create PSET7 first. Okay, so and then I am going to cd into that PSET7 directory here. So in the next step, what I'm going to do is go here, change directory to PSET7 and unzip movies.zip. Okay, so I'm going to do wget to retrieve the zip file. Then I'm going to unzip movies.zip and I'm going to remove the movies.zip folder here, and we should be good to go after that point. Now if I open movies, change directory into movies and open that, I see all these files, right? 1 through 13 SQL files, queries, which I have to write it by myself. Okay, so the idea in this assignment is that we write a bunch of SQL queries to solve particular problems. Okay, and they especially give you what the queries you have to write for each one of them. So a good starting point for this assignment is to open up movies.db and examine its schema. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. So what I'm going to do is going to type in SQLite 3 movies.db and I'm going to put type in .schema. Okay, so this is a schema. So I'm just going to copy this somewhere. Okay, maybe to a text file or something. Okay, so let me open up a new file and copy that. And I found that a good way to solve the assignment is to have vertical split. So what I'm going to do is going to do a vertical split or horizontal, I can't remember, maybe it's vertical, I think. Yeah, vertical. And let's put the schema down here. Okay, so what we're going to do is we are going to start with the assignment. Okay, let me put .quit. Okay, it's not working, so let me do control C. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to start off with the first SQL query. We just have to write a bunch of SQL queries. So let me open this, and the first one is let me just copy paste this. Okay, so the first one is write a SQL query to list the titles of all movies released in the year 2008. Okay, so how do we do this, right? So basically we have to and before watching this video, please watch the walkthrough as well as the lectures, especially the lectures and the notes, because it's super helpful. I won't be going into a syntax of the SQL here. Dr. Malin does an excellent job of highlighting all the knowledge that is required for SQL in the lecture video. So please go and watch that before coming to this video. Okay. Let's get started with this. So it's saying write a SQL query to list the titles of all movies released in 2008. So I say I want to select title. So I say select title from which table? The movies table, right? So I go ahead and do movies released in 2008. Where in which field is that? That's year field. So I say year equals to 2008, and I should be good to go. Okay. So let's go ahead and check this. Okay. The way you check it is you have to pipe it. So what they recommend you to do is they measure the counts. They give the counts for each one. So what I typically just do is do this, right? Cat this, but I do word count. I pipe it through word count, and I see the total number of rows, including the header. Okay, including the header. That's the key part here. So I see 9,481 with the header. So without the header, it's going to be 9,480 rows, which is what we got here. Okay, so that seems to be correct. So let's proceed to the next one. Okay, so this is done. So it's pretty straightforward. So now let's next move on to the next one, which is let me bring it up here. Okay, the next one is write a SQL query to determine the birth year of Emma Stone. Okay. Your query should output a table, single column, blah, blah, blah. You may assume that there's only one person table with the name Emma Stone. Okay. So those are the pre-assumptions here. So let me copy paste that. Here, what we have to do is to determine the birth year of Emma Stone, right? So we have to say which table we're going to look into, and the birth year is here, right? So it's from this people table here. So we want to determine the birth year of Emma Stone, right? So select the birth year from people table where the name is equal to Emma Stone, and we should be good to go. Okay, so this is the query. Okay, so let's quickly test. This one is actually doesn't need word count because just a few rows. Oh, actually no, this is wrong, I think. Let me go back here. Determine the birth year. So select birth from people where name equals Emma, right? Oh, sorry. This should be 2. Okay, so let me go back here, and this should be 2. So birth year is 1988. Okay, so that's pretty much it regarding 2. Pretty straightforward. Let's move on to 3. 3 is very similar to number 1, I believe. So let's go ahead and do this. Okay, so for 3, it's saying write a SQL query to list the titles of all movies within a release year of date, blah blah, in alphabetical order. So list the titles, so same as 1. So let me just copy this. Okay, select title from movies with the release date on or after 2018. So let me on or after 2018. So year is greater than or equal to 2018. Order by in alphabetical order. So I have to order by title. Okay, so let me go ahead and do that and go here, clear this guy right here, and pipe number 3 SQL through this one. 35,755 should be the count. It's 56 here due to the plus the header one. So let me go back here and verify that I indeed got the right output here. 35,755. Is that what we got here? Yep, we got that. Okay, cool. So that's correct. So in the next one, let's go to 4 SQL and start writing the query for 4. Okay, let me close all the previous ones. Okay, in 4 SQL, what it asks you to do is write a SQL query to determine the number of movies. Okay, so let me go ahead and do that. We haven't gone to the join part yet, so let's we have to this slowly builds up in terms of difficulty, these SQL queries, and yeah, so the first ones are relatively straightforward, and as we go along we have to do some more thinking. Okay, so SQL query to determine the number of movies with IMDb rating of 10. Okay, so first let's start here. Rating of 10. How do we determine the rating of 10? We look at here. There is a ratings table with a rating, right? So we'll come back to that, but we'll say that select something from something where rating is equal to 10.0. Okay, so yeah, so rating is equal to 10. Number of movies, so it's asking for the number of movies, right? It's not exactly the movie titles. So we can just go pick ratings, right? From ratings, we can just select the movie ID and just do a count on it, because we just want the total number of movies. We don't specifically want to find the titles of any movies. We just want to find the total number of movies, okay? With the rating of 10, okay? So this should be it. Yeah, so let's go ahead and test this query out, okay? So what we're going to do here is go here, do that, and it should be, is that right? Let's check actually. 4 should be 1 row. Okay, yeah, it's giving me 2 rows including the header. But if I just do this, it's giving, yeah, so 12 movies has the count of 4. Okay, so in the next one, let's actually go to the next one and then write a SQL query to list the titles and list years of all the Harry Potter movies in chronological order. So let's go ahead and do that part here. So what we want to do is want to list the titles and release years. Okay, so title and release year, that's from this table, movies table. So we're going to do select title and year from movies table of all the Harry Potter movies. Okay, so what we're going to do is the Harry Potter is in the title, right? So what we're going to do is where title like it has to start from Harry Potter. I think that's the assumption that they give you. So they say that you may assume that the title of all Harry Potter movies will begin with the words Harry Potter, and if that movie title begins with the words Harry Potter, it is a Harry Potter movie. Okay, so we're going to do Harry Potter and then percentage sign to say it's a wild card. Okay, so we're selecting all titles and years of all the Harry Potter movies from the movies table, and where title is equal to title is like Harry Potter, it starts with Harry Potter, and we order it by chronological order. So we order by year. Okay, so let's quickly test this query out. Here we don't need to do word count because it's not a huge query. Okay, that sounds right. That's all the list of Harry Potter, which that's all the Harry Potter movies which start with the words Harry Potter. Okay, and as you can see, it's chronologically ordered. So now would be a good point to submit it and check our results while we can. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that and quickly check here. So I'm going to do submit, and let's check how much score we get. Okay, meanwhile, I'll copy paste the other queries here. Okay, so the next one, what we're going to do is we are going to write a SQL query to determine the average rating of all movies. Okay, so average rating of all movies released in 2012. Okay, let's quickly check how much we got. We should have gone 6. Okay, 6 out of 14. So yeah, until 5.SQL, it gives us the correct results, and none of the other ones give us the correct result because we haven't written yet. So yeah, 1 until 5 gives the correct result. So now let's move on to 6. Maybe a good point would be 6 to 10. Let's try to do 6 to 10 and then compile it again, and then 11 to 13 and resubmit it again. Okay, so that's a good starting point. So let me go to 6 to determine average rating. Okay, average rating. So rating is from here. So let me do, there's a function called AVG, which stands for average rating. Okay, from ratings table, right? Where so here, what the tricky part is, of all movies released in 2012. Okay, so in 2012 is that year is not there in the ratings. Okay, but if you notice, ratings table has this movie ID. So what we have to do is we have to join this ratings table with this movies table in order to obtain the year. Okay, so and then what we can do is we can find the average rating. So if I join this movies table with the ratings table on movie ID, I get access to all the other fields like ID, title, year, right? I've essentially combined those two tables together. Okay, join those two tables together. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that here. So what I'll do is select average rating from ratings, join with the movies table on movies.id. It should be equal to the ratings.movieid, ratings.movieid. And so when I do this, I get access to all the fields of the movies table, and I can just go ahead and do where the year is equal to 2012. Okay, and yeah, this should give me an average rating of all the movies released in 2012. So let's go ahead and try to do that part here. So I'm going to do cat6 SQL. So that's the average rating. Okay, so in the next, that was straightforward. The only weird thing is the joining thing, which you'll have to get used to, because different data fields or different columns might be present in other tables. So all you have to do is just join the current table with the other table in order to get access to its fields, and then you can stick those fields up in the query, and you'll get the results. Okay. In the next one, let's move on to 7. Okay, so let's go to the 7th query. In the 7th query, what you have to do is write a SQL query to list all the movies released in 2010 and their ratings in the descending order by rating. For movies with the same rating, or order them alphabetically by title. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that right here. What we're going to do is pretty much SQL query to list all the movies released in 2010 with their ratings. So what we're going to do is select all movies released in 2010. So we want the title and the ratings from we have to decide what we're gonna do for this part, and we have to order them alphabetically by the title, descending order by rating. So what we're gonna do is order by rating descending, like so. This is a special keyword in SQL for descending. Order by rating descending, and same if they have the same rating. So say this is 5.0 and 5.0, we have to order them alphabetically by title. So we say title ascending. This ASC, I don't think it's necessary, because by default value of order by, I think it's ascending, but I just put ascending here just for clarity's sake. Okay, so now we have to fill in this missing pieces here. Okay, write a SQL query to list all the movies released in 2010. Okay, so where year equals 2010, so that's the missing piece here. So the year should be 2010, and yeah, so that's the only sort of limitations that we have to filter by. Okay, so now here what we have to do is the same exact idea as we did in the previous one, where we join the movies table with the ratings table, right? So from movies, join with the ratings table on movies.id equals ratings.movieid. Okay, so if we do this, then we get access to all those fields from this table as well as this table. Okay, so let's think about this. So write a SQL query to list all the movies released in 2010 and the ratings, which is this part right here, in descending order by rating. Okay, by rating descending order. For movies with the same rating, it should be alphabetically by title. Okay, and all movies released in 2010. So that's this part here. And we can get access by joining movies table with ratings table. Okay, so this seems straightforward. Let's go ahead and do word count on this, because it might be a large result. Okay, so if I do word count, 6,836. So it should say 6,835, excluding the column, right? Excluding the header, right? So let's go ahead and check whether it's 6,835. Okay, for 7.SQL, 6,835. Boom. Okay, so we have our correct results. Okay, so for the next one, what we're going to do is we are going to go to 8.SQL, and we are going to start write SQL query to list the names of all people who starred in Toy Story. Okay, so let's write the query for that one. Okay, so what I'm going to do is list the names of all the people. So we have to decide from which table here and all these different things. Okay, list the names of all the people who starred in Toy Story. Okay, so how do we decide that? Okay, so we want to filter by people who starred in Toy Story. Okay, so how do we decide that? We say from where title is equal to Toy Story. Okay, so that's the criteria of filtering here, right? But we want to list the names. Okay, so we want actual star names, right? Of people who starred, right? So we want the name. So how do we do that, right? So there's a bunch of missing parts here. So what we have to do is we want to grab the title field from the movie column, right? So let's we have to do that, and we also meanwhile have to get the names of people who starred, right? So there's a stars column which has movie ID and person ID, and we have to join first movies with stars, okay? And then also to find the name of the person, if you just do join movies with stars, we get access to the person ID. But if you want to find the actual name of the person, then you have to go ahead and join stars with the people also, okay? So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say select name from people here, join in with the stars, right? On stars dot person ID is equal to people dot ID. So far we have joined this table people with stars. So we have access to the name field, right? So we can select in the outer query in the name field, and we also have access to the movie ID and person ID and so forth. But we actually need to get access to the title because we want to compare it with the title string Toy Story. So what we do is we go ahead and join that on movies also. On movies.id is equal to stars.movieid. Okay. When we do that, we get access to the title field. So now we can say where title equals Toy Story. Okay. So once we do this, we have essentially joined three tables here. Movies table to get access to the title here. Stars table to, it's sort of a connector or a bridge, right? Of which has movie and person ID, and the person table which has a name to which we want the name field or name column from this particular table. Okay, if we do that, we're in good shape. Now we have essentially joined three tables, and we've just filtered out by where title equals Toy Story, and we've selected the name of the people who have starred in that. Okay, now let's go ahead and yeah, so now let's go ahead and let's put this guy right here. Okay, so let's check how much this problem set you have to get for a.sql. You have to get 4 rows. Okay, so let's check how many rows we get. We get 5 rows, which is good, which is the header plus the actual output rows. Okay, so we're in good shape there. Okay, so now let's move on to the next one. Okay, 9.sql. Okay, so in 9.sql, where is it? Okay, so we're gonna go ahead here with 9.sql. Okay, let me go ahead. Okay, write a SQL query to list the names of all people who starred in a movie released in 2004 ordered by birth year. That's a mouthful, so let's go ahead and break it down. SQL query to list the name. Okay, so we want the name, so select name from whatever, whatever, right? We want to select the names of all people who have starred in a movie, right? So this is very similar to the Toy Story situation here. So let me go ahead here, copy with 8. We have to join the 3 tables, right? And we already have the name field here. That stays the same. Who have starred in a movie released in 2004. So instead of title equals Toy Story here, all we have to do is just say year equals, not year, year equals 2004. So just to reiterate, in the previous problem, it was title equals Toy Story. All we have to change is this clause here. Instead of filtering by the title is equal to Toy Story, basically the people who have starred in Toy Story, we just have to change this part here to say who have starred in movies with year of released in 2004, right? And the other thing is ordered by birth year. Okay, so we also have to order by birth, right? And that field is already from people, which we already selected. Okay, so let's go ahead and do word count on this guy right here for 9. Again, 9 is just a modification of 8, so it should be pretty straightforward. Let's go ahead and check it. Okay, so let's see what we get for here. 21,164. Okay, is that right? Is the question. That is wrong. Okay, so let's check where we went wrong. Okay, SQL query to list the name of all people who have starred in a movie released in 2004 or by birth year. Your query should output a table with a single column for the name of each person. People with the same birth year might be listed in any order. Okay, no need to worry about blah blah blah. Okay, if a person appeared in more than one movie, they should only appear in your results once. Okay, so I guess this is the tricky part here. If a person appeared in more than one movie, they should only appear in your results once. Okay, that's valid. Let me think here. So what are we missing here? Okay. So name. Okay. Oh, okay. So say you have multiple movies, right? Let me draw this out. So say you have multiple movies. You might have different people with the same name, but they might be different people. I think I had encountered this problem for one of the queries earlier. I think it was this particular query. The idea, this is one of the tricky queries. The one thing that you have to remember is that people might have the same name, but they might be different people, right? As an example here, say the name is name in here, okay? Name and person ID, okay? So as an example, say the name is Tom. There might be 5 different people with Tom, right? So there might be person ID 1 of Tom, person ID 2 of Tom, person ID 3 of Tom, and person ID 4 of Tom. And Tom, like Tom 1 might be really popular here, right? So you might have something like Tom 1 acted in a movie, and then Tom 1 again acted in a movie. So Tom 1 might be a really popular actor here, right? So you might what you have to do in this situation here is that the output should be Tom 4 times, right? The count should be 4 times, and not 6 times, or not just 1 time, right? Because if we just select by name and just do distinct name, so okay, so there's a bunch of ways to eliminate duplicates. One way is just to distinct, but it is not entirely correct in this situation here, because if we do select distinct name here, what we're going to end up is just 1 Tom. Just the output is just going to be 1 Tom, right? Which we don't want, right? Because all of these, we're losing this person ID if we just do distinct name, okay? So that's not exactly what we want. On the other hand, if we just do group by Tom, again, it's the same situation. We just end up with 1 Tom, okay? So what we actually want to do here in this situation is we want to have Tom of 3, like 3 counts. We want to take this Tom here, this Tom here, this Tom here, and this Tom here. So we want to actually have 4 Toms here in the output result, okay? How are we going to do that? What we're going to do is going to group by, in this situation, what we do is we group by Tom, and we would group by the person ID, okay? So if we do that, then the output result will have Tom 1, Tom 2, Tom 3, Tom 4, which would be a count of 4. So that is the right strategy here, okay? So one thing we have to eliminate, so we have to eliminate duplicates, that's one thing. And the way and we also have to carefully count, right? Carefully count. Meaning that we should not overcount, or we should not undercount or lose data, okay? And the way we do that is we take out this guy right here. We say group by the name and the person ID, okay? So if we do that, then we should end up with the right one. So if you were confused about this one, go back to the previous, just rewind the video where I explained the Tom example, okay? So let's go ahead and do that. If we go ahead and do that, we're getting 0. Okay, oh, sorry, we haven't quoted 10 yet. Sorry, it was 9, my bad. Okay, so let's wait on this. Okay, so it should be 18,000 something. What was that? 18,013, okay? Okay, perfect. We get the right amount here. Okay, so we're good to go here. Okay, it's a little tricky here, but hopefully that made some sense. Okay, now let's move on to 10.sql. So in 10.sql, we write a SQL query to list the names of all people who have directed a movie that received a rating of at least 9.0. Okay, so let me copy this. That received a rating of at least 9.0. Okay, so I'm going to select something from somewhere where something. Okay. And I don't have to order by in this case, okay? List the names of all the people. So I select name from all the people who are directed a movie, right? So in this scenario, I have to actually look at my directors table, and I also want the ratings table, okay? So let me copy some of the stuff from previous stuff. So I'm gonna do the name to list the names of all people. So I do people join with not the stars, but actually directors. Okay, so let's go here and do directors dot person ID is equal to the people dot ID, which is fine. Join in with the ratings table, right? Because we want the ratings. On ratings dot movie ID, movie ID should be equal to the directors dot movie ID. Okay, directors dot movie ID. Okay. Now we have access to all the fields from directors table, ratings table, as well as the people table. So now we can just say where rating is greater than 9.0. Okay, and that should pretty much be it, unless there's additional information. Okay, so that's pretty much it. Let's go ahead and check this out for 10. Do some word count. Okay, and 19,028 should be the output. That is wrong. So let's quickly check where we made the mistake in our SQL query here. Select name who received. What do we get? We get 19,000, but the output says it's what? 18,041. Maybe it's distinct name. Let us quickly check. Distinct name. Okay. So let's find that out. 18,041, is that the right output? Okay, that's all right. So the idea is that there was duplicates in the output, so we just modified that. Okay, so that's correct. So now let's move on to the next one, which is 11.SQL. Write a SQL query to list the titles of 5 highest rated movie that Chadwick Boseman starred in with the highest rated. Okay, so let me go ahead and do this. Okay, so meanwhile, let me actually take a break and come back. Let's now. I think it's a good point to submit what we have here from 1 to 10 and quickly check whether we get the right score here. So let me go ahead and submit what we have, and after that, I'm just going to take a break and come back and code up the other queries. So let's quickly check the score. So hopefully until now, it's not too bad. It's just joining a bunch of tables. 9.SQL was a really tricky one because you have to carefully count the correct people. So that's a little bit tricky, but hopefully that made some sense. Okay. So now let's go here. 11 out of 14, which is good. So until 10, it's producing the right result. Okay. So I'm going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to code the remaining SQL queries. Okay. So stay tuned. Okay, we're back. So basically, when we left off last time, we finished 10.SQL, and I believe we were coding up 11.SQL. So let's jump back in and complete our 11.SQL. Okay, so the 11.SQL was pretty much writing a SQL query to list the titles of 5 highest rated movies in order that Chadwick Boseman starred in, starting from the highest rated. So it's a little bit of a mouthful, so let's break it down. So typical format is that you have to select something from something where something. Okay, and in this case there's also order by, because you want to start from the highest rated. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to list the titles of 5 highest rated. Okay, so in this case we also limit 5. Okay, so that's that, because we only want to limit it to the first 5 high rated movies, right? So we want to order by rating for sure. Okay, because we want to list the titles of 5 highest rated movies, right? And select what? So we want to list the titles. Okay, so select title, straightforward. That Chadwick Boseman started. So this is our filtering criteria. So what we want to do is where person is equal, where name is equal to Chadwick Boseman. Okay, so we have name is equal to Chadwick Boseman, and if you go back to here, you may assume that there's only one person database. Okay, so we don't have to worry about wildcard or any of that. Okay, one person with Chadwick Boseman, so that's not too bad. So we have our sort of structure here. All we have to do is we want to list the titles of 5 highest rated movies that Chadwick. Okay, so we want to join the stars table. Okay, because that is the table that represents who is starred in what. So this is a star table, we also want to join that with the movies table because we're extracting the title, right? And we also want to join by rating, right? So we want to also join that with ratings, okay? And actually, in this case, we also want to join with people because we're also looking in to see the name of the actor, right? So we want people, ratings, stars, as well as movies. Yeah. So let's go ahead and use the template that we have from our previous SQL queries. So select title from, what we'll do is people join director. We don't actually want directors. Let's take it from the 9.SQL. Let's do this. So let me remove this. So people join stars on star. Okay, so this is fine. This joins people and stars, which is fine. So we have people and stars. Where is stars? Okay, so that's done. And then you join that with movies. Okay. You also want to join that with ratings. So join that with ratings. On ratings.movie ID is equal to let's say movies.id. Okay. And now we have access to all the fields. We have title, which comes from movies table, and then we have name, which comes from the person table and people table, and we have the rating. Okay, so now we should just be able to compile this and run it. So let's quickly check. So we go here and do 11 cat11.sql, and let's see what comes up. Actually, it should be 6. I mean, because we only take the top 5. So let's actually display it instead of just and check whether it's actually factually accurate. Okay, so when I do this, I get the Killhole Gods of Egypt message from the king. Is this the right one is the question. Okay, so let's go ahead and search up in IMDb, right? The Killhole has Chadwick Boseman. Okay, this is actually 4.3 ratings, so it appears to be there's some issues with the ordering. So let's go back here and check our query here. So we have order by 5 highest rated, so that was the issue. So we were ordering by the lowest rating, starting from the most least popular movie to the most popular. So we should actually do it from most popular to least popular. Okay, so this should be now accurate. I put descending here, which means it starts from the highest rated to the lowest. It goes for the lowest rated. Okay, so now if we do the same thing, let's quickly check what we get. So we get 42 Black Panther. Is that right? So 42 Chadwick Boseman. Okay, that seems right. How much ratings is on this? 7.5. Okay, so that's fine. And then Black Panther should be lower after 42, which is 7.3. Okay, so this seems right. So this seems to be working. So let me close this, close this, close this. So yeah, this seems to be working. Okay, so yeah, again, pretty not too bad. It's just you have to join in different tables altogether because we want to aggregate it by the title, people, name, and rating. Each of those fields is in an entirely different table, so we just have to aggregate and combine them all together in one table. Okay, so that's done. So now let's move on and let's make sure this generate. Okay, this already generates 5 rows, so we're good there. Okay, now let's move on to 12.sql. So let's open that up. In 12.sql, what we want to do is we want to write a SQL query to list the titles of all movies in which Johnny Depp and Helena Bonham Carter starred. Okay, so you may assume there's only one person named Johnny Depp. Okay, so what we can do is, let me first copy this. Okay, so what we can do is first it's 2 different SQL. You can think of it like this, right? So we want to find a SQL query to list all the titles of movies in which John Depp has starred, and we can also write a query to find in which movies Helena Bonham Carter has starred, and we can do this really cool thing called intersect. Okay, so you can think of set theory where, like, if you have 2 sets like 1, 3, 5 or 1, 3, 4 intersect with say 1, 3, 1, 3, 5, you get the output as 1, 3, right? Because you're taking the intersection of two sets, right? Similarly, there's other in set theory. There's also other keywords like union and there's one more. I forget what it was, but the idea is, I think, the difference. But what you can do is you can apply these kind of same theories across SQL languages, right? So if I go to SQLite intersect, right, you can actually see the syntax, right? So here you can select list 1 from table 1, you can intersect that with list select list 2 from table 2, and you get the end result. Okay, so you can think of this particular problem, we can solve this using set theory. Okay, so what we do is first we write a query to find all movies which Johnny Depp has starred, and we do the same thing with write a query in which Helena Bonham Carter has starred, and then by definition, when we take intersection, we should have the final result. Okay, so that's pretty much all we have to do here. So let's take a look at how we can write that. So first I want to find the titles, right? So select title from whatever, we have to find that out, where we have to find that out. Okay, and this is for Johnny Depp, so we take whatever we have from that and we intersect it with the same thing. So select title from blah blah, from where this is blah blah, and we get and actually this should be name, right? Because this is Johnny Depp, right? So we say name equals Johnny Depp, and the filtering criteria for this is where name is equal to Helena Bonham Carter. Okay, so let's do that. And now what we have to do is we just have to take the intersection of this, and we have our result here. Okay, so the title is in the movies table here, and the name is in the people table, and we want to find out who's starred in which one, right? So we also have to join in with the stars table. So we have to join movies, stars, as well as people. Okay, so let me just copy this massive union, massive joining here, and just copy paste that here. So so in this case, we're joining with people, should join with stars, that's fine. Movies should be joined with this thing, and there's no ratings here, so we can just take that out. We should be good to go. Okay, and then we do the same exact thing with here, and I claim that's pretty much it. So now we have our title of the movies that Johnny Depp has starred in, because we look at the stars table, and we similarly do the same thing for Helena Bonham Carter, because we find in which movies she has starred in, and we just print out the title and we intersect them together. Okay, and I claim we're done. So let's quickly test this out. Okay, so if I do cat 12.sql, let's see what we get, the result that we get here. It's taking a while here, as you can see, but we get around 6 movies. Okay, so 6 rows. So is that right? That's right, according to the source here. Okay, so we're good there also. Okay, so now we seem to be making good progress here. So 12 also, I think, works. Okay, so now let's move on to the last query that you'll ever have to write for this assignment here, for this movie assignment here, which is write a SQL query to list the names of all people who have starred in a movie in which Kevin Bacon has also starred. Okay, so let me go ahead and write that out here. They give some other. Your query should output a table with a single column for the name of each person. Okay, fair enough. There may be multiple people named Kevin Bacon in the database. Be sure to only choose a Kevin Bacon born in 1958. Okay, there's important information here. They're saying that, that there might be multiple people with name of Kevin Bacon, but we only want to choose a person who's born in 1958. And another thing is that Kevin Bacon himself should not be included in the resulting list. Okay, so first let's go ahead and find, first let's select Kevin Bacon first. Okay, so how I would think about this problem is that first find Kevin Bacon, right? Find as in like name equals Kevin Bacon, and Kevin Bacon, I won't write the entire thing out, and then birthday equals blah blah blah, right? And second step is find the movie IDs which Kevin Bacon has starred. Okay, and once we find the movie IDs which Kevin Bacon starred, all we have to do now is join in movie IDs to the titles, names. We want to find the names, right? So we want to join with the people's join the people IDs, right? So as an example, let me probably draw this out. It'll be easier than explaining it here. So say you find out movie ID, and then you have Kevin you have people. Let me see if I can summarize this. So if you find the movie ID of and then Kevin Bacon will be the person ID or person name, right? Something like that. Person name. I still have to figure out what exact columns, but the idea is this. So say Kevin Bacon person ID is 5, right? Just assume for the sake of our argument here. So we have 5, and then we have tons of movie IDs here. So say we have 10, and the person name is obviously Kevin Bacon here, the one and only Kevin Bacon that's born in that year. Okay, so say the movie ID here is 30, 50, and then 12, something like this. So it's saying that Kevin Bacon has starred in this 4 movie IDs here. So all we do is take this movie ID and look up in stars table and join in with people table, because stars table has this movie ID of all the different movie IDs and the person ID. So we just have to take these movie IDs here, and we have to first correspond to the corresponding person here. So once we join it with the person ID, we with using people, we can extract the name, and we should be done at that point. Okay, so let me go ahead and break this problem down. So SQL Query list names of all people who started in which Kevin Bacon all starred. They also gave information about be sure to only select Kevin Bacon born in 1958. So let me go ahead and do that. Okay, so this is important information. So what I'll do is select, okay, what should I say? Let me leave it blank, from people where the birth is equal to 1958 and name is equal to Kevin Bacon. So this will return me the person. Let me do person ID, people.id. So this will return me Kevin Bacon's ID, right? From this people. So first I find Kevin Bacon. So for step number 1 is done. Okay. Step number 2 is find the movie IDs in which Kevin Bacon has starred. Okay. To do that, what we can do is take people and join in with the stars table. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so rather than just taking from people, we're going to take in we're going to join people with stars, and still this condition is going to remain. Okay, actually no, sorry, so this will be people ID. Okay, so this will return the person ID, right? So what we'll do is this. So from people, join in with stars. Okay, people join stars on stars dot. We're gonna find all the movie IDs. Okay, so we actually want to select movie ID here. Movie ID. Select movie ID from people join stars, where stars dot person ID is equal to people dot ID. Okay, so all we're doing here is finding the movie IDs where Kevin Bacon has starred. Okay, so what we do is we select movie ID, right, from people join in with stars, right, and where birth is equal to 1958 and name is Kevin Bacon. So now we have found out the movie IDs where Kevin Bacon has starred. In the next step, what we have to do is we have all the movie IDs. We just have to look at look at other people, take those movie IDs, okay, and also see which person ID that corresponds to. Okay, so what we can do is something like this. Select, let's just say for now, movie ID, person ID from let's see, from stars. I forget syntax for you can use the keyword in. I'm just going to use the keyword in here because I already have the list of movie IDs. So all I want to do is I want to find who is starred in that. So I go to problem set. Sorry, if I go to notes here, I can where was the in example here? Somewhere they use the SQL. Let me. Somewhere they use it here. Okay, something like this. Select dash from shows where ID in. Okay, so this is what I'm going to do. Let me go back here. So now I've found out all the movie IDs that Kevin Bacon has starred. So that's just a list of integers, right? An array of integers. All I have to do now is map that to the star table here. So let me do this. So select stars from the stars table where ID I'll say movie ID in, okay, and this will be my subquery, right? So this will give me all the information about the person ID and the movie ID where Kevin Bacon has started, and using this I can join in with the so at the end of this we'll have something like this. So at the end of this we'll have something like movie ID and then person ID, and then we're gonna have like 10, 12, and then 15, and then person ID is going to be the ID corresponding to Kevin Bacon here, right? So in this case, sorry, not Kevin Bacon, sorry, it will be all the people including Kevin Bacon, so such as like 100, 5, and 1, something like this, right? So this will be all the people including Kevin Bacon who is starred, right? So now what we have to do is just join in the stars table with the people table to extract the name of the people. So what we're going to do is we're going to say we want to list the names, right? So from stars join in with the people and on stars dot person ID is equal to people dot ID. So now we have essentially found the names, right? So instead of person ID, we have actually found the names, right? The name. So this might be, I don't know, like Dwayne Johnson, and this might be Kevin Bacon himself, right? ID 5, something like this, and this might be someone else, like Tom or someone, right? So now what we have done is we have produced this list by joining in with the people table here. So at the end of this, if I just execute this, let's see what happens. Let me just run this query and see what happens. So if I put 13 here, let's see. So now Kevin Bacon should also pop up in the list along with other people, okay? So as we can see, we have plenty of people here, along with which there is Kevin Bacon here, and then Kevin Bacon here, right? And then and etc, right? There's Kevin Bacon here. So now we can, in this table here, we can just take out Kevin Bacon, so we can just filter by Kevin Bacon like so. So here it says Kevin Bacon himself should not be in the resulting list. So let's go ahead and take care of that, okay? So what we're going to do here is in the outer query, we're going to say where movie ID in this guy, and so movie ID in this array of this list of integers, and the name is not equal to Kevin Bacon. Okay, so that should pretty much do it. Okay, so now our list should be so now it's going to be same list except Kevin Bacon is removed. Okay, so let's check that. Okay. Excuse me. Okay, so now this looks great. So yeah, this looks fine. So let's see what's the word count of this, okay? Yeah, so let's check the word count for this. This is 184 rows. So is that the right count is what the question we have to ask. It is not the right count because it's saying it should be 176. So my guess is that even after we removed Kevin Bacon, some of the people here might be duplicates, right? So we might have to go back and remove the duplicates also. For instance, I'm just as an example, Clint Eastwood might be a duplicate here, and he might be occurring somewhere else in the list also. Okay, so we have to go back and this should be unique names. Okay, so let me go back here and select distinct name from this list here. Okay. And let me try using that now. Okay, so now if I do word count, hopefully it's a lot lesser because it was remove duplicates if there are duplicates. Okay, 177. Okay, so I think that's right because it said 176. Okay, so we're good to go. So let's and that's pretty much it, I think. Yeah, so you just have to break it down in steps. Hopefully these 3 steps make sense to you. And if not, just rewind the video and rewatch it. And yeah, let's now try to submit these queries that we have written. Okay, so now let me go back here. Yeah, now let me try submitting it and let's see what we get. Okay, so as you can see, we got this message that submitted. Let's try to open this and see what score we see here. 14 out of 14. That's perfect. Okay. Oh wait, is that the right one? I think it's the right one. A few seconds ago. Okay, that is the right one. Okay, cool. So we're good to go here. So that's pretty much it. That was all with regards to the movies assignment. So in movies, we just have to write queries, SQL queries. The most tricky being 9, I would believe, 9.SQL as well as maybe 13.SQL. All you have to do is just break it down in steps, and it'll be a lot clearer to you in terms of how it works. Okay, the only difficult thing might be joining different tables, but all you have to remember is that you just join different tables to get access to other fields, right? Because in a single table you won't have all the information, so you just join in with other table which has information, and you get all the information, and you can do filtering. You can select certain columns, whatever columns you want, and anything you want, really. So that's just with regards to the movies. Okay. So yeah, okay, so we're done with movies at this point. So now let's move on to the next assignment here. Okay, so the next assignment after this is houses. So let's open up houses. So in houses, I believe that the way it works is that you can read through this prompt. I can highly encourage you to read through this and watch the walkthrough. But the idea is very simple. You are given a CSV file, and you're given an empty database, okay? And you have to take the contents of the CSV file, put that in the empty database, and populate the database. And afterwards, there's this Python program you have to write called roster.py, which you pass in through the command line. You pass in a command line argument, which represents the house name, and you have to just query the database, and you just have to display the people who satisfy that house, who belong to that house rather. Okay, so let's go again started. I highly encourage you, like I said, to read the prompt and watch the walkthrough if you haven't already done so. So please pause the video, do that, and come back to this video. Okay, so if you've already done that, I'm just going to go ahead and proceed with this. So all I do is I do standard wget, and I install everything that I want, right? So I'm in PSET7, I do this, and I unzip houses.zip, and I remove houses.zip at that point, and then I claim to be done. Okay, and houses. Okay, so now let me clear it. We have 4 files. Character.csv, which represents a CSV, right? I can open that. So let me just close this. Actually, let me put this down below here. Okay, let me close this guy right here. Don't save. Okay, so this is the CSV that we have. We have the first row is the header, the name, house, and the birth year of these characters, Harry Potter characters. The name is it could be 2 words for first and last name, or it could be 3 words for let me find an example here. It could be 3 words, first, middle, and last name, right? and we have to put them accordingly. And then yeah, it has 3 columns. That's pretty much it. Okay. Import.py is what the first program we have to write, which populates this empty database. So if I write SQLite 3 students.db, okay, and if I select star from students, as you can see, there's nothing there. There's 0 stuff there because it's an empty database. We have to write this import.py program to read the contents from characters.cv and populate this database. Okay. One important thing that might help us is we might want to know the schema, right, that existing. So this is a schema that we have in place. So let me copy that here. So new file, let me copy this. So as you can see, there's a students table, which has ID, which auto increments itself, right? We don't need to worry too much about this, and we don't need to even write this in a program here. The ID, just make sure every single row is unique and it auto increments. Okay, so we're good there. There's first, middle, last name, which we have to populate, whether it's depending on whether it's 2 words or 1 word. And there's also house, which we just take this guy right here and just plug that in there, and we take for the birth year, we just take this guy and plug it in, right? Pretty straightforward. Yeah, so let's get started with the assignment here. So I'm gonna go to houses, open up import.py, which is the first one we have to write. Luckily, what we can do is, I think if you go to the what is it called, the notes here, the source code, you can just download and copy paste most of the stuff here. Okay, so I've already downloaded the zip file, and if I go here, I already see this where was that, the source 7. Okay, I opened this. Okay, and this one already has all the files here that was used in the lecture, right? So let me go ahead and open maybe this guy here. Okay, so if I open this guy, this is an example of how I start reading from a CSV file, and I can start writing to my database, I believe. Is this the right example here? Right row. Maybe not. Let me look at import 4.py. Is this the one? Yeah, so this is the one that inserts stuff into the database. Okay, so let me just use this as an example. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy paste most of the stuff here. Okay, I'm just going to take this part here, which is import. This is from import 4.py, and I'm going to copy paste it here. So what I'm going to do is do it like so. So it's not a TSV file anymore. It's a CSV file, and then the name of my file is characters.csv, the characters from Harry Potter, and then characters. I can use a dict reader, and delimiter is not a tab anymore, so it's that. And I just iterate over each row, and yeah, and I just insert into my database. Okay, I need access to my database here, so what I'm going to do is, so instead of this, I need to declare my database. Okay, so I need to declare, and I need to insert into my database as well. Okay, so let me go ahead and is this important? Insert into John. Okay, this is for genres table. Okay, I don't need to do any of this. I need to declare my DB variable here, which I can easily do so because I have if I open this, okay, I can just copy this db the CS50.SQL, right? So let me just go ahead and copy. The good thing is they've given us most of the template from the lecture, so we just go and copy paste it, right? So if I go here, what was the name of students.db? Okay, so all I have to do is just go like this and paste in students.db, and import the libraries correspondingly. Import CS50, import CSV. What else do I need to import? That's pretty much it, I guess. Okay, so the first thing we do here is we validate the command line argument, so we need to do that too, and I believe we did that in the DNA. Okay, so if I recall correctly, it's something along the lines of import sys. So if we, let me look that up. I don't remember actually how to do that. I believe it was in week 6 notes also. So let me go ahead and do that. If we go here and we look at command line arguments, okay, import argv. So that's the line that I've been looking for. If the length of arg v is not equal to 3, then exit with the return code of 1. I forget whether it's 3 or 1, okay, but else we print that the usage of the program is actually like so. We do say that it should be, where is it, like here, okay. So what we go ahead and do is say usage is like Python call this name of CSV file, okay. And yeah, and then after that, we, instead of opening character.csv here, we have to actually open an argv at the last one. I'll just use -1 here instead of saying which index it is, but let me quickly test this out first. Valid usage. Okay, let me first make sure that these guys are correct here. Okay, so I'll just go ahead and do Python import py, and then if I just do import.py is okay. So that's this thing, and then okay. So so this is not quite right. So this should be not equal to 2. Yeah, okay. This should be not equal to 2. Yeah, because there's 2 arguments here, right? The length is 2. Okay. So first is the import py, the Python program itself, and the second one is the characters.csv. Okay. So if I just do like this, okay. So this is working. So now what I can do is I can remove this. So yeah, so now what we can do is we have validated our command line argument, and at this point we have also opened our database. Okay. Once we have opened our database, we can start running db.execute on the database. We can start reading from the CSV here one by one, and we can start inserting into our schema in the students table. Okay, so I'm going to do insert into instead of shows, it's going to be students. We don't have to insert for ID. It's going to be first, middle, last. Okay, house, and then birth, and then we are going to write values for first, middle, last, house, and birth. I'm going to write out this and populate these variables locally inside my Python program. And this is instead of 3 question marks, it's going to be 5 question mark, because there are 5 columns here, 5 values here, which we are going to fill. So this looks good. So all that remains now is to write this first, middle, last, house, birth. Okay. So for each row, what we can do is something like this, right? So we have to say first equals something, middle equals something, and last equals something, and house and birth. So house and birth are pretty straightforward. So because you can just pull that right from the row. So I can just go something like row at house, and that should give me the house. And the birth should be birth equals row at birth, and that should give me the birth year. Okay, and I can do that because I've read it as a dictionary reader, so I can just reference this. Okay, so now what we have to do is first, middle, last, which is kind of tricky because if it has 2 words, it should be first and last. If it has 3 words, it should be first, middle, last. So how do we do that? Okay, the way we do that is we can just take the name, right, the name here, and calls the split function. The split function in Python, what it does, it takes a given name and splits it by the white space or the space bar, right? So what we can do is if we say something like row at name dot split, it is going to split by the white space. Okay, so for this example here, it will be Adelaide. It'll be a list containing 2 objects, 2 strings. First, the first index, it will be Adelaide. The second index will be Mern, right? So as an example, let me open a new terminal here. Python 3, for instance. So if I just say, Tom Hanks dot split, okay, we have Tom in the first index, Hanks in the second index, right? 0 and 1, sorry. But if we do something like, I don't know, Tom, Donald, Hanks or something dot split, right? We have this thing. So in this case, what we want to do is we want to populate the middle middle guy here with the value null. Sorry, with the value Donald, but in this case the value should be null. Okay, and the first and last name should be Tom and Hanks. The middle should be null, but in this case the first and last should be Tom and Hanks. The middle should be Donald. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna say something like this. Okay, if so this will be my current name, right? If the current name is greater, thinking the best way to put this. So what we'll do is this. Maybe we'll say something like this. First name, or let's just say first, middle. So in Python we can do multiple initialization, right? So we can say first, middle, and last is equal to current name at 0. For middle, what we can do is we can say something like current length of current name, right? If length of current name is equal to 3, then let me see, let me think here. So if length of current name is equal to 3, I'll just say current, we want to take current name of 1, right? So in this case the length is 3, so I just take the middle name. So I take current name of 1 if length is equal to 3, else I take a space, empty space. Okay, else actually I'll put none here because we don't want any data there. Okay, for the last name I take the last element always, right? -1. Okay, so this will always work for 2 and 3 cases as well. You can have separate ifs and else to fill in the first, middle, last correspondingly. So I'll also write that because it'll be easier to understand from a beginner's perspective. What you can do is you can also say if current length of current name, right, is equal to 3, then first name, middle name, last name is equal to current name, right? And this will take care of that. Else first and then last, this should be last. Okay, first and last should be equal to the current name, and then middle is equal to none, right? And yeah, this should work. Okay, so this is another way to write it. You can also write it in one line like this, where you say first is the current name is always the first index, always, right? The last should be -1. -1 Python means take always the last index, whether it's for for first and middle name with 2 words or 3 words. Okay, and the middle one is going to be the middle name here, Donald, if length of current name is equal to 3, else it's going to be none. Okay, so that's that. So at the end of this we are going to have first, middle, last, house, and birth, and we can go ahead and we can do our insertion into our database here. And I claim we should be done after this point. So let's go ahead and print done inserting rows. Okay, done inserting rows. Okay, so now at this point, the only thing that remains is just call python import.py with our characters, and let's see what happens now. So it's doing some work. So let's wait. Okay, so it's put done inserting rows. Let me go ahead and open up our SQLite students.db, and now if I do select star from students, we should see the names. Okay, so as you can see here, the middle column is the middle one. For most of the students there's no middle name, but as you can see, for instance, for Ronald, his middle name was Bilius, so we put Bilius correspondingly. Okay, and for the other ones it's just null. Okay, so this works, and we are done at this point inserting our rows into database. Pretty straightforward. We just took the example from the lecture and then the source files, and we just modified it. Okay, so this is the best part. I mean, they give you most of the code in the lectures. All we have to do is we just have to take this code and just modify it. Okay, so after this point we are done with the import.py. What did we do? Oh, we just missed. Okay, so now what we can do is we can go ahead with our other program, which is, let's quit this. So now we have all our data in our database, right? So and then we have, this is no longer relevant or needed. We have all our data here in the students.db. We just have to implement this roster.py. Okay, so let's look for what this has to say regarding roster.py. Let me go down here and just look at how we should use that. Roster.py, write a program that prints a list of students for a given house in alphabetical order. So it has to print alphabetical order. Your program should accept the name of a house as a command line argument. That's not too bad because we did that. We did a similar thing here. Let me just copy paste this. I don't need CSV here. If argv is not equal to 2, then usage python roster.py name of the house, and then we exit 1. Okay, so we already finished that part. It's a very similar thing to what we did earlier. So that's fine. Your program should query the students table in the students.db database. Okay, that part is also not too bad. We just get a cursor here, and boom, we get access to our students.db here. Now all we have to do here is write the query to query the house, right? How do we do that? We can just pull the same exact stuff from here. I believe it's not here, but we can do db.execute. Okay, db.execute, we just pass in our query string here. Select star from students table where house is equal to question mark, and we pass in the house, which is argv1 at the last index. Okay, the last index. Okay, and if I just do this will return actually rows, I believe. Okay, return some amount of rows. So for row in rows, I'm just going to go ahead and print it. Okay, so as it is right now, if I just go ahead and print it, let's see what we get. Okay, so if we do python roster.py, and if you just do roster.py, it should give error. Okay, name of the house, I want Gryffindor. So let's copy paste it to avoid any typos. Python roster.py, and let me go ahead and put this. Okay, so it returns some names here, characters here, who belong to Gryffindor. As you can see, the house is Gryffindor. Okay, Gryffindor. So it works as intended, and we have first name, middle name as none in some cases, and last name. Okay, so all I have to do now is format it, and I believe there's one more additional detail. There's a order in which this has to be printed. So this has to be printed in let's see, your program should, okay, all students specified house. Okay, in alphabetical order. Okay, your program should then print out each student's name by full name and birth year. Okay, order by last name, and then first name, order by last name and first name. Okay, so that's what we have to print. We have to order them by last name and first name. Okay, let us go back here and modify a query a little bit. We're going to say where house is that, order by last name and then first name. At least that's what it said. So order by last name and then first name. Okay, so that seems fine. Let's go back here, and so now instead of printing it in raw form like this, I want to actually format it. Okay, so how do I want to actually print it? I print it something like this. Okay, so let me go back to my IDE and close remaining windows here. It's getting too confusing. And then I print something like this. Okay, first, middle, and last, and then comma, and then born, and followed by the name of the year. Okay, so all I have to do is say print row at first, right? We don't need to worry about the ID. We just have to say row at first to get the first name. Okay, put a space after this, right? And we want to check if the middle exists, right? So if so we want to print empty if row at middle is equal to none. Else we want to print row at, let's do it like this. So we'll just say print row at middle, right? If row at middle exists, right? Meaning if row at middle, right, is not equal to none. You can also put not equal to none, but this shorthand, you can just say if row at middle exists. Else I want to print an empty space because that's all, you already print a space here. Okay. And after I do that, then I once I finish printing row at middle, I also have to print out an additional space here. Okay. Okay. And then I print row at last. Okay. Well, this should be in quotes. Okay. So this might be a little confusing, so let me repeat that again. Okay. So if row at middle exists, right, I want in this example here. So like, let me give you an example here. So Harry Potter. Okay. So this is 2 names, this is 3 names. Okay. If middle name exists, I print the first one, Hermione, right, and then space here, followed by, if the middle name exists, I print the middle name, which is in this case Jean, followed by another space, which is this part right here. Okay. Which is that part right here. Else, in the case of say Harry Potter, I print the row at first, in which case it's Harry. I print a space here, which is this space right here. There is no middle name, so this if condition is false, so I just print empty string, okay, which is pretty much going to print nothing, right? There's nothing printed. And I print the last name, in which case it's Potter. Okay, so I do something like that. So this this if here and the printing here might confuse you, but it's actually a shorthand. Okay, but you could put separate if and else. Okay, but in Python you can just write it in the same line. In C you would use a ternary operator, and you can write it also like this. Okay, so row at last, I print the last name also, and I print a comma after that, the comma after that, and then I print born, and I print comma, and then followed by row at last. Okay, row at the birth year, so I just print birth. Okay, so I claim that's pretty much it. So let's go ahead and test it out. Okay, so instead of this format here, if I just now print this, we can only concatenate string, not an integers to string. Okay, you see this birth year here, it's an integer 1979, so we have to cast it into a string. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's just put str around the birth year, and we should be good to go. So let me check again. Okay, so we get something. Is that the right output is what we have to determine. So let's check. Python roster Gryffindor, Lavender Brown, born. Okay, so that's fine. And the last one should be Ronald Bilius Weasley, and then 1980. Okay, that sounds fine. The next one is Hufflepuff. So let's just go ahead and do that. And then put Hufflepuff. Okay. We get Hannah Abbott as 1980, and then Ernest Macmillan as 1980. Is that the right one? Let's check. Hannah Abbott 1980 and Ernest Macmillan 1980. Okay, so we seem to be getting right. I don't want to compare it with the other 2 houses also. I think I'm fairly confident, so let me just go ahead and submit it now. So I'm going to do this, and then I am going to input. So if this works, then we would have finished this assignment. It's pretty straightforward. It's only 10 lines or so. Most of the template is already given the source code that is provided by the staff. You just have to modify a few lines here and there, and off you go. Okay, so let's quickly check if we got it right, what score we get. Okay, this is running. Okay, while that's running, I'll just quickly at a high level explain it. So the idea is that we have 4 files here. The first file is import.py. So there's CSV file and then DB file. In the first one, the import, it has to take the CSV, dump it into the students.db. In the roster.py, all you have to do is just read stuff from the DB using Python and just display it in visual form. So that's what we did for this assignment. So let me go back here. 6 out of 6 is what we got here. Style is 1.00, is really good. Okay, so in short, we have successfully completed both the houses as well as the movies programming prompt, and that's pretty much it. That pretty much concludes our problem set here. The next problem sets are actually, they're not even problem sets per se. They are just mini projects which focus on a particular tracks like Android, iOS, or web. I don't know if I'm going to do those tracks in those assignments, but they should be pretty good enough in terms of the material covered for most of the problem sets I've covered in the channel here. Once again, just a disclaimer that this video is only for education purposes. Please do not directly copy paste the code from the code that I've typed here. If you do want any help, there are always plenty of people, if not hundreds of people, or even in some cases thousands of people on Discord or Facebook who can help you get the solution that you want, or even if you're stuck anywhere, they can sort of guide you and help you out. So I highly encourage you to reach out to those kind of platforms and join the groups in Discord and Facebook to make progress, and not rely on the code that someone else has written or has just handed over to you, and you can just copy paste that. That's you would rob yourself of opportunities for learning new stuff. So just a small disclaimer there, but hopefully that makes sense. And yeah, let me know if there's any questions from this video, or if you are stuck anywhere, or if it was helpful, just let me know. As usual, like, subscribe, and yeah, and hopefully this helped. I'll probably see you guys in the next video. I don't know if I'm going to make the Android, iOS, or web tracks. Most probably not, but hopefully all the problem sets that I have covered previously on this channel are hopefully helpful to you. Okay. So with that, good luck, happy coding, and let me know how it goes.